The Goulburn Waterworks stand as a monument and as a testament to the Victorian era, its people and industry.
As Goulburn established itself as a city and started to grow, it was fed originally by wells along Blackshore Road, and the wells were water from the river, literally just a hole in the ground with a brick top over them. And there's a chap that used to cart the water on a horse and cart and deliver it to the houses. At that time it was adequate, but as the city grew, the actual water available diminished, and they couldn't keep up with the water supply. It became apparent then that they had to do something better. They decided to build this typical pumping station. It's typical of a Victorian era pumping station. Probably one of the most original ones in the world. Whereas these people that built these facilities, back in the time that they were built, they had no cranes, they had nothing like we've got today. It would have been a very labour-intensive job. Yeah, so it's certainly not, totally removed from what we do today. It has a lot of stonework around it. It's a combination of a lot of skills went into it. The engines were built in 1884 in London and was bought here on a bullock wagon in small components that were handleable to be reassembled here and put together here off a bullock wagon with the use of a crane that was built into the building when they built the building. So the whole thing was assembled on site. Until when it was assembled was approximately 2 years. And it was one of 4 engines that came to Australia. This is the only one that remains. And it started pumping water here in 1885. And pumped water from 1885 till 1918. And it was pretty well, at that point, it was put on standby. And they installed a couple of steam pumps that were put in alongside the beam engine.
One day, when Robert the fireman and Edward the engineer were working together in the pump house, Edward suffered a fatal heart attack and fell, taking Robert with him. Their tangled bodies tumbled down some stairs and ended in a heap. Edward was dead. His body pinned Robert to the ground, who remained trapped for hours until help arrived. This incident was the breaking point for Robert's wife, Annie, who had already experienced the death of her older brother, James, murdered when she was young, and a year earlier, the brutal murder of her sister, Margaret, by a covetous lover, and the death in action of her nephew James, who died while fighting in the Great War. Also, Annie's youngest child had died, drowning in those same waterworks where her husband had been trapped for hours under the body of his friend. Annie lost her mind and was admitted to Kenmore Mental Hospital, where she stayed the rest of her life until she died in 1962.
Original engineer was a chap named Edward Woodhart, and he had the opportunity to have the engine scrapped at one stage, and he decided to go against it. He just left the offer in his drawer of his desk, and at that point is when they virtually stopped using the beam engine, when he died. So the engine sat there unused pretty well from probably about the mid-1920s, right through until present time, until 1956.
Robert, deserted by the death of his friend and the insanity of his wife, continued to live and work alone at the Waterworks, nearly until his death in 1942.
Keegan, he was the fireman, and he lived here for a very long time afterwards, and carried on looking after the site, even after the steam engine stopped working. So there's a few people, there wasn't a lot of people involved with the actual waterworks, but those were the 2 main people. No ghost stories, I'm afraid. No ghost stories. It's an eerie place of a night, I can tell you that much. It certainly is.